financial planners, and estate planners. We have a team of people. We specialize on your business. We could help you. I'll tell you honestly, the fee that we charge, the rate of return is 200 to 400%. 200 to 400%. Next 10 to 20 years, you will make in your corporate level, in a fleet corporate level, you can make millions. So the framework that I show you so far on this, these are the frameworks. See how simple in one sheet I explained to you? The whole thing I explained to you in one sheet. Simple. I want to keep it simple. We have a great team. These are 100 years experienced people, all brain working, with some of the companies. I'm fortunate to be a CEO of this. So, your obligation, if you guys willing to work with us, your obligation, give 3 years of your financial statement and pay to retain us. What we do, this is powerful. We will fact find your corporate tax issues, analyzing your current condition with your corporate level, develop a tax planning, step-by-step process, plus implement your tax planning into action. Then monitor your tax planning. You pay a small dollar, but you save a lot of taxes. If you start doing by yourself, good luck. We do a lot of advanced tax planning, big time. Very advanced tax planning, estate planning. We do a lot of complicated stuff. Even estate freeze, even if a shareholder died, it's called post-mortem thing. We still do that too. And changing the dividends to capital gain, because dividend is higher taxes, capital gain is 50% tax, so we change all these things. So what I ask from you, ask yourself, it's worth spending 30 to 45 minutes of your time. They can help me to save thousands or millions of dollars in tax. Otherwise, you're going to pay 30% of your life. You need to make money to pay taxes, isn't it? This is my information. If you guys want it, we have the booth over there. If you want to come and get some information from it. I have 2 colleagues. They are in the booth. This is my disclosure. This is education purpose, not a advice purpose. Good luck. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. That's awesome. All right. Before we take a break, I just see our Deputy Mayor for the City of Brampton coming in, the Honorable Harkirat Singh. I'm going to invite him to come up, bring greetings as well. Please welcome our Deputy Mayor, Mr. Harkirat Singh.
Thanks, Jake. I really appreciate it. And I want to thank the team at Fleet Executive Summit. I came early today because I actually wanted to watch the next discussion. It's about green technologies. I'm actually very passionate about that. We at the City of Brampton are very passionate about green technologies, especially when it comes to our busing fleet. So I look forward to that discussion. Thank you to Harveen, I see Rimpiji, the other team to make this happen. I think it's a great success. I had a few people call me to tell me to make sure I attend. And so on behalf of myself, Mayor Patrick Brown, and our full council, we thank you and we look forward to supporting you. And I look forward to hearing the discussions in the next round of topics. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. Always good to have you. Folks, we're going to take it says here 10 minutes, but if it's okay with you, let's just take a quick 5-minute break. We can set things up here. We've got a great panel discussion on green technology, as our Deputy Mayor said. So 5 minutes, There's some coffee out there, still some sandwiches, there's a quick bathroom break, and then we'll set things up. But please, let's make it 5 minutes and come back. Thank you. We want to set the mics up. Hey, buddy, how are you? You're going to be I think you're the
No, Bruce is the moderator. Want me to introduce you to him?
Okay, Bruce, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
Bruce
okay.
Winchester. I'm the next one.
You're the one after.
Yeah, I'm the moderator for the economic channel.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But actually, I will go get my paperwork.
Hi, Bruce. Good, how are you, sir?
I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to star chamber these bastards from here.
Okay.
Because you've only got one mic for the table.
No, I've got
right?
a few.
Okay.
I've got 3.
Yeah, so what I'll sort of moderate from here.
Okay.
I think that's what I want to do. Coffee fit.
So you got 1, 2,
Yeah.
3, 4 people.
Yeah, and 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Keep it brief, suckers.
Yeah.
So, can we get the mics on the table? I think Terrence has some. Let's have one for you. I think that's the way to go. It's like you've done this before.
Yes. Just bring it.
Yeah, but I want to do it now, as opposed to, is this thing on? Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's good. That's going to be good. Hopefully I don't start singing. You never know. As each, so let's. Okay, so let's line it up right now. So let's get this.
All right, folks, if you want to start making your way back to your seats, we will get started, please. We have a panel discussion coming up on green technology, so if you want to just start making your way, we'll get started.
Yeah, you're good. Dave on the other side. That's just in order your slides are coming. Yeah, that makes sense. So guys, that's a good time introduction. So we got those slides. Say as much as you need. Yeah. And I don't want to hear anybody talking about tax ratios. And let's only talk about retail fuel prices, because everything else is proprietary. And it'll look like I brought a QR code. I love this. It's an engine. I don't know how you get it to look like that. And if you guys see me dipping down for my water too often, That means you got to talk about
Bruce, you good to start, buddy?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Whenever you're ready. I just
Okay.
want to make sure the Honorable Deputy Mayor is here to hear it all.
He's right there. He's sitting down. Guys, could you do a quick touch on the lights?
That sounds like it works. I'm doing grade 12 functions right now. Working real hard on it. Nice. Assuming for your child, you're not going through like a Billy Madison moment or something. I'm learning. No,
Yeah, I mean, he's added a bunch, and he actually just
trigonometry.
he's been talking to Amazon.
Where's the lesson?
And Amazon just this week, last week accepted him as a carrier now.
Yeah, I know I'd be completely
He's
lost.
gonna-
I barely got it the first time.
He's trying to navigate that system to go and do loads for Amazon.
All right, friends, please take your seats. We'll get started.
Technology.
So next session is on green technology, hauling with low-emission technologies. Bruce Winchester, the ED of the CNGVA, guides a discussion on the evaluation of low and zero-emission technologies for trucking. Bruce will be the moderator, and then we have panelists, David Hiller, President and co-owner of Hiller Truck Tech, Adam Whitney, Vice President on Highway Sales, Cummins Canada, Ian McDonald, Vice President of North American Sales, Hexagon, Agility, and Paris. And then Wade Crawford, National Account Manager, Clean Energy Canada Trucking. Bruce leads the Canadian Natural Gas Vehicle Alliance. The CNGVA is an NGO whose members assist medium and heavy-duty commercial fleets deploy low-emission vehicles with a number of fuel and propulsion options. Please welcome this amazing panel led by Bruce Winchester.
Well, thanks for that introduction. That's great. I'm following on the last speaker. I'm going to tell you that if you invest in low emissions technologies, you won't pay any tax. Just kidding. But you can lower your tax costs and other costs, of course, and you might even get some money from governments to pay for some of that. We're going to talk a little bit about what you can do with emissions reductions on your fleets. Class 8 trucking is coming to the game a bit late. There's some external pressures coming from governments and regulations. That's all almost as exciting as tax planning. So we'll try not to talk about it too much. Let's kind of get into the kind of nuts and bolts of how you do this, how you go from using a diesel fuel and into a new type of fuel that you can use that will actually reduce emissions, and maybe, if you're lucky, reduce costs. We had a great panel here. I'm going to start by mentioning that we don't have Adam Whitney from Cummins. At no great loss, though. We've got Christoph here instead, who's got lots of experience, and I'll ask him to give a little bit of his bona fides when he gives his introduction. So I'm going to call on each of the panelists. They're going to give a little bit of an intro, and then we're going to try and get into a Q&A discussion amongst the panel, and I swear I will save time for questions from the audience too, once we drag everybody in from getting a coffee. So again, like I said, you can save taxes by doing what we do. Just kidding. Christoph, you want to tell us a little bit about Cummins and maybe a little bit about your time at Cummins? And that's not to say we're good.
There we go. Thank you very much, Bruce. Yeah, as you mentioned, my name is Christoph, not Adam. So anyone that was here to look at Adam and talk to him, sorry to disappoint you. But, with regards to Cummins, we see climate change and reducing greenhouse gas emissions as the existential crisis of our generation. And as such, we've created, obviously being a large major corporation, we have ESG goals, and a large part of those ESG goals is what we refer to as our Destination Zero, which essentially states that by 2050, the products that we produce and their emissions will be net zero. That being said, we also recognize the fact that this will not be a light switch event, and we're going to get there through continuous improvement. And the journey really starts today, and I think we're going to talk about some technologies that we can implement that are available today that we can implement today to start reducing the fleet's GHG output, whether that be advancing clean diesel technology, But I think more specifically to today's conversation, I think that's, talking about natural gas and also the carbon intensity reduction that can be brought about through the use of renewable natural gas. In conjunction with that, we also recognize that we need to look well to wheel and bring out technology that's available and has the infrastructure support, right, and has green infrastructure support behind it. And then speed this along a little bit. We also need to make sure that the technology we bring out is scalable and cost effective and reliable to our customers. So, as I already mentioned, we're diesel, natural gas at the moment, but we're also very heavily invested in zero emission vehicles, whether that be battery electric, hydrogen fuel cells, or hydrogen internal combustion engines as well. And then by 2050, we will be carbon neutral, but it's a journey. So let's say by 2045, we might not be carbon neutral again, but a large percentage by that time of our products will be advanced past the diesel stage. If I could just have the next slide real quick. Specifically, we're making the largest investment in our 104-year history right now in internal combustion engines. And a large part of that is our next generation of 15 liters. It's a global platform. It's already launched in other parts of the world with over 1 billion miles of testing put on it, or not even testing, general use. The natural gas engine is the first engine to be launched in that platform in North America, and it launches next year. It's known as the X15N. 500 horsepower, 1850 foot-pounds of torque, so a very, very capable line haul engine, and this engine is generating a lot of talk throughout North America in the line haul industry as people look to lower their ESG or their greenhouse gases. So with that, I'll pass it on. I think I went over time.
So I'm going to make you linger for a second. Don't give up the mic yet. Maybe. So one, you didn't tell us. We got to hear about Adam's role. What's your time and role in?
Okay, so sorry about that. Yeah, I've been with Cummins since 2011. I work under Adam Whitney, who's our Vice President of Sales for Canada. I'm our national account executive for Eastern Canada.
So lots and lots of accounts.
Yes.
So one takeaway that I think, to pick up on what you're saying from the Cummins perspective, emissions reductions goals, getting there, it's a journey, right? It's going to take some time. And I think the big takeaway for this group here is there's some changes coming that you need to be aware of and you need to be thinking about. But before those changes come, it's time to start today, right? The number one takeaway message is start thinking about what you want to do to reduce emissions and start doing it today. And the reason being, from the Cummins perspective, is?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. So I would say that, if we talk about today and we talk about natural gas, the first and foremost, the great thing about natural gas is from an engine perspective, it's very common technology to what we already have on the diesel side. Plus, if you start to think about, renewable natural gas, it's the only technology that will actually get you to a net carbon negative state, right? If you think about best case scenario electric, you're net zero. Renewable natural gas, you actually drop down negative because you're no longer venting that methane or that natural gas out in the atmosphere, you're consuming it in the engine. Plus, if you think natural gas is a very similar technology from an engine standpoint to what we're going to see with internal combustion hydrogen engines when we start to see more of those on the end of the road, on the road by the end of the decade. So you can already start thinking about that, getting your shops, prepared for a gaseous fuel, getting your techs prepared for a gaseous fuel, getting your drivers used to it. So it's a lot of change management that can start to happen today. And then also on top of that, you're obviously doing what your shippers or whoever you're working for require with regards to reducing your emissions footprint.
That's good. It's a really good summary. I mean, contrary to what some governments are thinking and saying, this journey is going to take some time, and we need to embark on it now. And I think Cummins has shown a lot of leadership, and so thank you for joining the panel, and thank you for actually being a company that's moving the needle. Let's talk. Ian is with Hexagon Agility. Ian, let's hear a little bit about Hexagon and a little bit about where your company fits in this journey of emissions reductions.
Sure thing. So Hexagon Agility, we're a global company headquartered in Norway. The Canadian connection is in Kelowna, British Columbia, where we announced earlier this year the grand opening of a battery manufacturing plant. All of our North American systems are engineered primarily out of the Kelowna Kelowna, British Columbia facility. I do live here in Ontario. I represent all of North America for sales, but I'm the only employee here in Ontario, so the proud Hexagon Agility office of one. Up on the screen, we're looking at our zero-emission technologies. So this is battery electric trucks and hydrogen trucks. A lot of talk about these technologies, but the technology really is in the early stages. The next slide. This is more mature technology, as Christoph mentioned, really commercially available now technologies. Natural gas, that's a truck on your left-hand side, and the natural gas fuel tank is on the back of the truck there. And on the right-hand side, we're showing our mobile pipeline or virtual pipeline technology. So wherever there isn't a pipeline, those trailers can transport natural gas from where it is to where it needs to be. And that's a really rapidly growing segment of our business. Christoph talked about renewable natural gas. It's growing so rapidly that we frankly can't build those fast enough. A lot of that natural gas is not on top of the pipeline, so it needs to get where it is to the pipeline, and so that, as I say, is a really rapidly growing business.
Thanks, Ian. So we're kind of building a story, right? You got the engine, now you get the fueling technologies, and even a little bit about how to stretch a natural gas network. I'm going to ask Wade to talk a little bit about clean energy. Clean energy is a leading company and a new fuel provider in this space. So Wade, tell us a little bit about the company and sort of what you're doing here in Canada and in Ontario.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Bruce. So Wade Crawford, National Account Manager for Clean Energy Fuels. Corporate head offices in Newport Beach, California. We operate and maintain over 600 stations in North America, including 3 here in Ontario. Stations are owned by Enbridge. They're in London, Windsor, and Napanee. We provide compressed natural gas, renewable natural gas, and liquid natural gas. As these gents have mentioned, RNG and CNG are really where the sort of future of fuel is between diesel and hydrogen and battery electric. So we're just trying to help our local customers here adopt this technology by providing the different stations everywhere. But we also help the carriers that have shippers that have ESG goals, the Walmarts and the Amazons and fleets like that. So if your shippers are asking you, what's your carbon reduction goal, we can kind of help you with that.
So Wade, what are your bona fides? You've been doing this about a decade, am I right?
Yeah, so I've been doing this since 2012, yes.
So he's been around, he knows lots about alternative fuels and these vehicles. Now, we ordinarily like to have a fleet on our panels, but for some reason, the guys operating fleets are busy, delivering stuff. You know how that works, right? So we got David Hiller to talk a little bit about it. He deals, of course, directly with a lot of smaller fleets, typically. He's got lots of customers in this space, and he's helped a number of them make this transition from operating primarily with diesel vehicles to now operating with CNG vehicles. So David's going to talk a little bit about Hiller, and then we'll come back and talk a bit about some of his fleets.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Bruce. David Hiller. We own and operate a natural gas repair facility. We've been doing Hiller Truck Tech for 20 years. Prior to that, I was actually with Home Hardware before we started Hiller Truck Tech. So understanding fleet maintenance, looking after trucks. But we took the plunge maybe 8 years ago and started with our first natural gas truck back then. So we are now providing full maintenance repairs for natural gas trucks, and we will help with fleets in those repairs as well. So another aspect of our business is that we have a leasing company where we lease our natural gas trucks. So we have our own inventory of natural gas trucks, and we have trucks in Windsor. We've had some in Ottawa as far as New Brunswick, a lot in the Toronto area here. So we help fleets with the transition of diesel to natural gas. So we understand diesel trucks, but we also now understand natural gas trucks, and we can help your maintenance managers with that transition. It takes time. It took time for us to understand the fuel tanks side of things, the fueling infrastructure. and many differences, but there's a lot of benefits to natural gas vehicles. The biggest one is the savings. You go and release a natural gas truck today or buy a truck today, you will see savings tomorrow. Quite simple, right? So yeah, that's what we do.
So we will talk a little bit more about cost savings. I'm inspired by the previous speaker. But we'll also talk about emissions reductions, I promise you. Don't tell, is there anyone here from the government? Well, we'll ignore the municipal. Don't tell governments you can save money by reducing emissions. That's just our little secret in the room here today, okay? Maybe Tarek, you can flash that slide that sort of shows. We got a slide back here. So this is, with several disclaimers, all the prices up till 2023 are real prices. And then after that was just some educated guesses about where diesel prices might go through to the end of the decade. Bottom line there is, in blue is natural gas. Line at the top is renewable natural gas, right? And in between those red lines are diesel. You see that diesel price moves around a lot. And those gas prices move a little, but not nearly as much. That's kind of a graphic demonstration of how there's a business case. What's interesting about the RNG line is we think as we get toward the end of the decade, the price of RNG may actually be lower or competitive with the price of diesel. So not as good a deal as natural gas, but nevertheless a business case that could be put together. We'll talk a fair bit about natural gas. This same methodology is going to play out when hydrogen vehicles come into the marketplace. And maybe will play out when we talk about electric vehicles, but that in some ways electric vehicles are a lot more available in the light duty side. But when you think about heavy duty applications, you can get an electric truck, but for most purposes in Class 8, it's not really a useful tool for many operators. And it's going to be a long time before that's going to be in the marketplace. So we're looking at things like natural gas, RNG, and hydrogen to kind of bridge that gap until the technology gets there. If the objective is to get to those zero emissions or net zero targets that everyone's talking about. So let's talk a little bit, Wade, while we've got that up on the screen, talk a little bit about the kinds of savings that you can offer as a fuel supplier to a fleet.
So if we talk retail to retail, diesel is probably either side of $1.80 these days. Natural gas at our stations is about 92 cents, so it's roughly half. So quite a bit of savings there.
And is there any more to that?
Well, if you're a large fleet, just like on your diesel contract, you can get a better volume discount on diesel. You can do the same thing with natural gas as well. And by dealing with a company like Clean Energy, if you're a long haul fleet, by dealing with me, we can set you up with a fuel deal right across North America. Diesel might not be as easy, if you're going from the U.S. to Canada. So we talk a lot about how to do this, right? How do you go from diesel to something different? You can hire an engineering firm. Good idea. You can do an internal study. Good idea. But any one of the panelists we have here or people with these types of companies, Enbridge, other companies like that, will be able to also help you do that. One of the things that Wade's able to do, if you've got a fleet, let's just dwell on it a bit and then we'll switch over to David for a minute or two, is able to kind of look at your fleet and kind of do that sort of early assessment, where can you find these savings, where can you find these emissions reductions, and maybe Wade, talk for a minute or two about how you've done that with fleets. Yeah, so one of the things we do is, one size doesn't fit all. It depends on where you go. We've only got, 3 stations of our own here in Ontario with Enbridge, but there's also, a handful of other competitor stations. So we kind of look at your routes and where you go, and then people usually want to try and start off and, dip their toe in the water with the truck. So then we talk to David, and David has a bunch of trucks available for, lease, rent, for sale. So, David and I work together quite a bit with Enbridge as well to try and put together a, sort of a package for rent and a fuel deal as well.
So good segue. I want David to kind of chime in, talk a little bit about some of the fleets. Kind of take us through how you can kind of help a fleet into the vehicles, what you're doing in your piece of business. And it's a little distinct from what Ian and Christophe are doing, because you're in the secondary markets. Let's just talk a little bit about that, and I swear we'll come back and talk about emissions reductions and talk about the new tech that's coming into the market.
Sure, and we're all waiting for Cummins to come out with their 500 horsepower. So when I'm talking about our trucks, currently our trucks only have the 12-liter 400 horsepower that Cummins has had on the market for close to a decade now. Good engine, but I know everybody's wondering when the 500 is coming, which is coming soon. So our trucks range from 2015 Volvos, 2016 Peterbilts, so you got some 2020 Freightliners, day cab, bunk trucks, but they all have the Cummins 400 horsepower. It's an OEM truck. A lot of people ask Hiller Truck Tech if we've converted trucks, their diesels, to natural gas. Yes, we can do that. We did do that on some occasions, but currently we're bringing assets up from the States that were ordered off the assembly line as a natural gas truck. So if you haven't gone through the process of checking that out yet, go talk to your local OEM dealer and specifically ask them for a spec on a natural gas vehicle. They could do it for you. They just typically don't because they like selling diesel trucks. We're here to help you with that transition, to tell you you can order new trucks today that are natural gas. So look into that. We have used natural gas vehicles that we will paint, fix up, do whatever we need to do, put new tires on, that we brought up from the States, and those are the assets that we use to help our local fleets. So we do have some local fleets. So the most popular would be the fleets that don't haul that heavy, right? Where 400 horsepower is sufficient enough. And back in the day, that's all we had was 400 horsepower. So we're spoiled today with 500 horsepower, because not that long ago, 400 horsepower was the engine to use, right? But so it does work. It doesn't, you can't leave it in top gear the whole way from here to Montreal, but you can get to Montreal and back and save a significant amount of fuel. Cummins has no DEF on the natural gas engine. We all know what problems DEF brings, especially in this weather, when DEF freezes at about -8 Celsius, right? So that does have problems on the diesel trucks, as we all know. So the after treatment system is quite different on the natural gas engine. So yeah, nice trucks. Try them out. They're available today, now.
Now, do you have any stats on sort of cost per kilometer that you can share or compare?
Yeah, I mean, one of our big customers, again, hauling light loads, and so again, they're hauling potato chips, so it's not heavy loads, but we were running some numbers with them, and we go by cents per kilometer. That's just the simplest math for any of us to look at. We're around the 35 cents a kilometer on fuel costs. Now, if you take any of your diesel applications, I see numbers of 70, 80, 85 cents for diesel. And again, we could argue all day long, oh, I'm hauling this weight or these trains. I get it. There's different trains for everything. But take your fleet and put one natural gas truck in your fleet and have it compared to your diesel trucks, and you will see significant savings. So we're as low as 30 cents a kilometer on the fuel side, again, hauling light loads. We have fleets that are hauling 110,000 pounds. Shh, don't tell Cummins, right? But they're our trucks. They're out of warranty, so we can do what we want. No, but they're doing it because they don't have big hills. They do Toronto to London, and there's no big hills, so they can safely get up to speed. They can actually maintain speed, and they're loaded one way. And so they're seeing significant savings there. So the way we are doing with heavier loads, different transmissions, sometimes different gearing, sometimes different tire sizes. You guys, there's tricks to accommodate your vehicle when you don't quite have the horsepower that you're used to, right?
So we're gonna pivot back to the new stuff. Point here is there's actually a lot of in-field experience, and with this panel, with other members of our organization, we can help your fleets really dig into it. Mm-hmm. Let's talk, so we're supposed to talk about emissions reductions. All we talk about cost savings, right? Okay. There is a federal regulation called the Clean Fuel Regulation. Show of hands, anybody know about it? Okay, Tarek, you don't count. This is a problem. People in this room don't know about it, don't understand that this is basically another thing that's increasing the cost of diesel fuel in the country, like to the tune of maybe 16 cents more a liter by the end of the decade. But there's good news. Under the Clean Fuel Regulation, you can generate credits that you can sell or monetize. obligated parties, the diesel vendors, buy those credits from you as a fleet. And the default value for a natural gas vehicle is 20% emissions reduction. So maybe 20 credits per truck per year, and those can be sold into a credit market. And this is, I think, let's talk about why should I talk about the new products? We've got the Cummins engine product coming to the marketplace at the time in which this opportunity to generate credits is going to start to be available. And so I know Cummins didn't plan to release the engine with that in mind, but obviously give us a sort of a little flavor of how these kinds of things like clean fuel regulation and others are kind of driving Cummins and the agenda that you have with various natural gas and other platforms. This thing on?
Yeah, I think it's on. Yes. So, you know, I think, you know, I don't know if Cummins specifically, you know, thinks about government regulations as we plan our products, because these are, you know, years in advance, right? So, but I think it's required, and I think, you know, on both sides of the border, when you start thinking about newer technologies, obviously everything is calculated back to the cost of a truck with a diesel engine, right? So, you know, we talk about operating costs, and that's accurate. But we also have to take into account, you know, the capex that of these new technologies. And I think in order to drive these technologies, you know, forward and get real great, you know, adoption, the government needs to recognize that programs such as this need to be put forward to make it make sense for shippers and carriers alike. So yeah, I mean, we encourage any type of incentives that are available. I know the U.S. government's done a very good job of it as well. You know, and based on that, and based on the product that's coming out, and based on, you know, the requirements on carriers put onto them by shippers, you know, we've had a huge outpouring of support for this product by many fleets, and you know, just to kind of, you know, put it into perspective, you know, by 2030. We anticipate that 18% of the North American market will be running on the natural gas product. That's line haul. 18%, and that's not the current market. Pardon me? You're from what to what do you get to 18? Where are you starting? Where are we today? I got it right here. Rough guess. It's all good. It's less than 18, I'm sure of that. It's probably like 2 to 3, so if not less than that.
I know that the current Canadian penetration of natural gas vehicles is like 0.5%. So 18 sounds really exciting to me. And you know, a big part of what's driving that is the opportunity to reduce emissions that come with these vehicles, and the opportunity to unlock RNG. And I see the slide still up there. That green line at the top is RNG. I'm going to have Ian talk briefly, and I hopefully have some time for questions from the audience, a little bit about sort of Hexagon's into a number of different product lines. Talk a little bit about some of the North American fleets, and you know, who's in this game, and where you guys see this going as a company.
Absolutely, yeah. Get to name drop a little bit.
Yes.
Some fairly familiar names. Our three largest customers are UPS, Amazon, and Waste Management. So two of those big guys are in hauling freight and pulling 53-foot trailers and 40-foot trailers. So they've both had very good experiences. UPS is really excited about the 15-liter engine, as is Amazon, but given the packages they're carrying, the 12 liters done very well, and they've been, especially UPS has been instrumental in improving that 12-liter engine. You know, over the last 5 or 6 years, that engine has really come a long way, and it's a very reliable engine now. And by the same token, so has our technology. We store the fuel on board, so when you use compressed natural gas, you've got to pressurize it to get that energy density. So unlike a diesel tank that's just basically made of steel or stainless steel, there's a little more technology involved, and so we've come a long way as well, improving our technology and getting it to the point where this is really mature and really very reliable technology.
That's great. I'm going to pause here and see if there are any questions from the audience. We got one at the back. I don't know if we got the mic guy who can... Okay.
Where's the
somebody
question,
handed me
sorry?
one. I'm trying to read it
Oh,
right back there. While he's running to do that, we could talk a little bit more about renewable natural gas, but there are some other panels where we'll be doing that in the future, so we'll make sure you're made aware of those. We could really geek out on how this renewable natural gas gets you to net zero.
Oil shortage and the downtime. Any
Okay.
thoughts about it?
Hi, my name is Sam. Thank you very much for giving me opportunity to ask you a question. So, when I mentioned, I heard that you mentioned retail to retail, but none of the carriers who has more than 10 trucks, they will buy at retail diesel. So they are OPIS plus or minus in that range. So those diesel rates, they are 15, 20 cents cheaper. So that will throw all of your numbers off. That's my first set of questions. I will ask second one also. So when you say in US, diesel, I understand, yeah, you are saying diesel, but there are 16 types of diesel. Some states have B2, sometimes have Bio 15, and every bio mix diesel gives you different BTU and different mile per gallon. So in your comparison, which type of diesel are you using for this analysis? Thank you.
So we talk about retail prices for diesel, and we talk about diesel that's readily available in the Canadian marketplace. The diesel in Canada will start to change under the clean fuel regulation. There will be more and more bio content. Right now it's 2 to 5%, right? That's what we're comparing to, and over time we'll see, and some of the numbers will change. The prices you're looking at are historic, right? That's for the most, up to 2023, that's what they were. The future is a guess, right? Anybody want to comment on the sort of biodiesel issue? Yeah, understood.
Yeah, so usually when we talk to large fleets, we talk about rack plus, right? So we hardly talk about retail pricing at all. So a typical fleet might pay, rack -2 to like rack 8 or something like that. So we look at the wholesale price of diesel, and some of our large customers are probably paying $1.45 for diesel, right? Would be like their wholesale rate. So if we compare the wholesale rate that a large fleet might pay of $1.45, you might pay, either side of 70 cents of wholesale through us for fuel. So it's still about half.
Anybody else?
Yeah, so I got a question that someone handed to me about the downtime and sort of is it different? Are the issues with downtime that are different with this technology?
Downtime. What vehicle doesn't have downtime when you're a repair shop? It seems like it's every day you're dealing with broken down trucks. So diesel for sure have their share of problems, don't they? The answer is yes. And natural gas, yes, we have. I guess it's a vehicle that breaks down as well, right? But
same amount of downtime,
no,
twice as much.
It's less. And, and Ian can maybe because I heard when I was in a meeting like this one time with Waste Management there, and they spent 5 years of collecting data, and I believe I saw at that time when I was with them, they said in a 5-year period, our diesel trucks have more maintenance than our natural gas trucks. So that's a statement that I heard from Waste Management that says natural gas trucks, there's no DEF system, there's no DPF system, so all those sensors that go wrong with a diesel truck, and now you look at fleets now and they're changing out their diesel truck every 6 years now, are we not? Because it's hard to keep a diesel truck. Where these natural gas trucks with the Cummins engine, they have a 20-year, yes, you're going to have to rebuild the engine at some point, but there's nothing on that truck that's going to force you to go and get rid of the truck after 6-7 years, because is anybody going out and buying 2012 diesel trucks or 2017 diesel trucks right now? So diesel trucks have their pair of problems.
So we might need a slight correction from Christoph at Cummins, because I know they sort of say it's a trade-off, right? You suddenly have spark plugs and at different oil intervals, so be mindful of that. But yeah, it's true. The after-treatment system's different, so maybe course correct a little on that.
Yeah, no, I'll just, so our technology, unlike diesel, which is compression ignition, natural gas requires some type of a heat source. So
just like a passenger vehicle or natural gas engines, have a spark plug. So you do have the maintenance intervals are slightly different for the natural gas vehicle versus the diesel vehicle, and I would say your maintenance needs to be, pretty regimented with a natural gas vehicle, just to make sure that you're staying on top of it. But, the comments are correct with regards to the after treatment system. It's a passive system, just like your passenger car, that requires, no maintenance or any type of interaction as you operate the vehicle.
So I'm getting the hook now. So I want to thank all the panelists. They're all available to chat later, and they can give away more secrets that we can't put up on screens in front of you. Like I can't talk about anything but retail prices, because as an association, if we sit around and talk about the price of fuel, it starts to sound like we're colluding on it. So there's a reason why I only ever quote retail prices. The experts will have we'll be able to do a deeper dive. So I want to thank the panelists for that. I also want to mention that we will be doing more of these panels, specifically we as an organization and some of these same cast of characters, looking at renewable natural gas and really delving into how we go from sort of a 20% emission reduction that you can get with natural gas, and how we move into renewable natural gas, and how we eventually move to hydrogen. You can see our brands up there: Go with Natural Gas, Go RNG, and Go Hydrogen. So thank you for having us here. We'll be around to answer questions, and enjoy the rest of the proceedings.
Thanks very much, Bruce, for moderating. Thank you, David, Christoph, Ian, and Wade, very much. Very informative stuff, guys. Thank you. Folks, we're going to continue, if that's okay. If I can invite Tarek. He's going to be moderating the next session, and then panelists Stacey Jenkins, Nicholas Somas, and Arun Rabello. And as they make their way up, let me tell you about our sponsors again. Thank you to our title sponsor, Big Rig Group, our diamond sponsor, High Point Truck Sales, our gold sponsors, Cummins, Cummins, 104 years, wow. Hexagon Agility, Clean Energy, King Towing, New Millennium Tire Center, Summit Risk Solutions Inc., Enbridge, and then our silver sponsors, TTSAO and IMVR, our welcome reception sponsor, Left Lane Associates, our table placement sponsor, Cold Iron Truck Center, and then our cocktail sponsor, my favorite kind of sponsor, is Truck Right. Thank you to all our sponsors. And a little bit about the Trucking Network, established in 2012, stands as a bilingual publication offering a wealth of information and current updates from the industry in English and in Punjabi. The TTN Bi-Monthly magazine serves as a comprehensive resource tailored for various segments within the trucking industry. You can explore the comprehensive offerings and stay connected with us through the truckingnetwork.ca. All of this stuff is in the folders at your tables. Just take a look. Okay. Thriving sustainability, navigating business success amid recession challenges. Tarek Qureshi is with Enbridge Gas. He's a specialist, CNG stations and truck business development. He's a transportation specialist from Enbridge. He believes that creative recapitalization of fleets and intelligent use of energy can drive positive cash flow for small and medium-sized carriers. Do you want me to introduce the guests? Please. Okay. Stacey Jenkins, past president, Toronto Trucking Association, and member, Montreal Traffic Club, the traffic manager, Thompson Terminals Limited. He needs 2 business cards for all of that. Stacey Jenkins, he's been with Thompson Terminals Limited for over 25 years and has held various positions within the company and is currently Director of Traffic. He's also on the Board of Directors for the Toronto Trucking Association. Nicholas Somas, Advisor, Mergers and Acquisitions, Left Lane Associates. He's been a key member of Left Lane Associates deal team since 2018. He focuses on the origination and execution of value, creating transactions for clients across North America. Arun Rabello, National Manager, Transportation and Logistics, Market Segment Strategy Group at TD. All right, so there you go, folks. Arun Rebello, in his role as national manager at TD, Arun leads the bank's financing strategy as subject matter expert in this space. He's got over 20 years experience. Wow, very nice. Please welcome our special guests, our panelists. Tarek, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Before I open the panel, I just want to take a moment to give a shout out to Ms. Naveen Nav. She's, for those of us who know her, very self-effacing, quiet, retiring in the background. But for those of us who've been her business partner over multiple years, we know just how much dedication she puts into putting on not just this, but other industry events, the publications, the level of professionalism that she brings, and the fact that we are all, in our interactions with her, gaining more than we give. She tends to give more than she gains. And Nav, if you're there, wonderful event so far. Thanks so much. Later in life, I've come to the view that ignorance really is a gift, and that became quite evident when I had a phone call last week with these guys in preparation for this event, because if you just sit back and listen, you learn just how much you didn't know, the unknown unknowns. So without any further ado, I'd like to kick off the conversation with these esteemed gentlemen. Oops. Guys, from left to right, why don't we start with your own view of the world, starting
Sure.
Stacey, Nick, and then Arun.
Sure. It seems to be a very somber mood, and I'm here to kind of tell everybody, don't worry, it will get better. All right? Don't worry. Okay? It's, these are part of the normal cycles that we kind of go through. If you particularly look at our industry, we enjoyed some very strong years, particularly through COVID. That things were very good, rates were very good. You could go on all these spot rate markets and you could get some pretty good business. But I think it just, things will eventually cycle downward. And I know we had, with our association, the Toronto Trucking Association, we had an economist from TD who spoke to us about a year ago. And they kind of predicted a bit of this, of the slowdown, because during COVID, people shopped. And that's all you could do. So people spent a lot of money on goods. They bought everything they could. You bought the new barbecue, you bought the new patio furniture, you got all that stuff. So coming out of COVID, that's where he said you're going to see a switch where people are going to spend money on services, travel, restaurants. So it doesn't come as a bit of a surprise. Certainly there's been some things that have kind of affected it with the pandemic, threat of world war. We've had 2 different wars going on in worldwide, so that's taken away from it. But again, these are part of the normal cycles that we go through. These cycles can be anywhere from 3 to 5 years, just depending on the factors that affect them. So it will go, but again, I think when we take a look at these times where it is slow, and that's where we discussed amongst ourselves about internal reviews. You've just come out of running a marathon and now it's stopped, and now it's time to catch your breath. So that's where, again, you do internal reviews, review your organization, top to bottom. Review how you do business, who your suppliers are. Is this a good time to where you didn't have time before, this is the time to get out and go visit customers. A lot of times when we do go through these busy periods, you don't have time to do these things. You're so busy with the day-to-day operations and that. So again, take these time to go out and do this when these slow periods. Review your insurance, your insurance suppliers, fuel suppliers. Again, the green initiatives that the other panel just discussed, okay? This is the time where you didn't have time before to look at the green initiatives. This is where you have time to do it. And that's where you should, conduct these reviews to make yourself stronger and be better. Again, look at your equipment. Is it a good time to maybe trade that equipment? Coming out of it, there is, the used truck market is softened. So that in terms of the prices, so Larry, you've been running that truck that's maybe 10, 12, 13 years old or older vehicle, is it time to maybe you can look at to switch it and buy something maybe 5 or 6 years old and refresh your fleet that way. So again, look at yourself, be ready for changes in the lanes. Myself right now, again, I think that's where there's some cause for optimism, and particularly with the Canadian dollar being, where it is, it's going to be attractive for U.S. companies to buy Canadian and buy our products. So I myself have seen a bit of an upsurge in demand for people looking for rates for shipments going to the United States. So as a company, you got to take a look at yourself, and are you ready for this, right? When it does come back and things do get strong, are you licensed? Do you have all the necessary tools to go where that freight is? And that might mean more north-south. I know a lot of drivers have been very apprehensive to cross the border. And a lot of people don't like to get involved too much in the border work, but if that's where it comes back to, and that's where the money is, and that's where you can go on these spot markets and get those extra dollars for doing it, are you ready to handle that? So,
Nick, please.
Thanks, Stacy. That was a very comprehensive overview. Just going to comment a little bit further on the rate environment and general economics. We work on buying transportation companies and selling transportation companies on behalf of owners. So we see a lot of different businesses and how they're performing relative to the cycle. As you guys know, there was a big inventory glut that built up in 2022, and as that unwinds, we expect to see freight volumes sort of normalize down from the trough that they're in now. Another big trend is a lot of carriers put on a lot of capacity in 2022 to take advantage of the spike in rates. And what we are expecting, what the industry is expecting to see is the carriers who are not managing their business as well, some of them are going to go out of business. And that is going to reduce the capacity in the marketplace, which should help to stabilize rates. Now, it's not going to be anybody in this room, but there are some carriers that we expect, we'll just say, are going to be leaving the market. And that does translate directly in the businesses that we're working with on transactions. We see some businesses, their volumes have flattened out. Let's say August was a soft month, probably for a lot of you, softer than normal in September. And we're starting to see, maybe September, October is kind of the bottom in volumes, and we start to see rates starting to flatten out a little bit. But when that is going to return is still quite an open question. Things will get better, but it's kind of anybody's guess as to who. I'll pass it over to Arun to round that out.
Thanks, Nick. And I think most of you covered probably most of the topics that are crucial. One of the big things is, question I get constantly, probably every day, twice a day, is what's going on with rates. I mean, predictability is basically out the window. I mean, if I knew what was happening tomorrow, I wouldn't be here. I'd probably be buying my lottery tickets. But anyway, really, we're seeing it all over the place. From an economic standpoint, the bank's view is we're probably going to see some sort of turnaround in rates, probably Q2 of next calendar year. But again, if you roll back the clock probably 3 to 5 years, predictability was probably a little better. Right now, we're in an environment where geopolitical runs everything. Something could happen at the opposite end of the world and change everything. What we're seeing is definite margin compression. I mean, it's driven down by probably, there is higher interest rate costs, but also freight rates are down. I mean, I'm speaking to the experts in the room right in front of me, volume's down. So it's, to Stacy's point, it's all about doing your lane analysis. Now's the time to spend your efforts looking at your lanes, look at your assets. Where are you making money? Do you need to offload assets? Is consolidation the right time? I'll leave it at that.
Can you expand on lane analysis, what that looks like? Is it something that a typical small, medium-sized fleet can do themselves, or can you guys comment on how one would go about that?
So, and it's very interesting. We've seen, when we look through the books of companies, when we look at the load level data that we get from our clients or companies we're trying to buy for our clients, we do this type of analysis all the time. So we'll look at, all the revenue, all of the costs associated with each specific customer and each specific lane that they're running. And sometimes what we'll find is, if this company just didn't have these customers, like they're losing money on, let's say, the bottom 30% of their customers. So if they just didn't have those customers, their business would actually be more profitable, right? The revenue might go down, but profitability is what really determines the value of a business. So it's really important to understand every single run, every single load that you're moving should be profitable for you. And if it's not, you have to question why am I moving this freight, right? I could replace that with a more profitable customer. I'll pass it.
I think, Nick, in our conversation, I recall you saying, or somebody saying, gold, silver, bronze, and then dud.
That was actually Stacy, so we'll let him comment there.
Rust,
Yeah, that's
right?
rust.
Yeah,
Rust, okay.
When you look at your rates and the work that you do, and yeah, you want your lanes to be very profitable is the goal. Some business you do kind of hang on at times because you do need to have work. Ultimately, you want to keep your drivers, you need to keep those guys working, you know, so you do have some freight that you want to keep. Hopefully that's not losing money, right? That is not, that's not the way to go. But again, look at your rate, look at your product mix, your freight mix is something more stable. Like through the good years of COVID, there was a lot of opportunity to chase gold because there were some good rates to be had out there, and so you can go chase that. But you need to have it, some things to fall back onto. Like myself, I know with our company, we do bring in some partner carriers to help us with our work. And the rates may not be the best, the highest rates out there, but it's freight that we have that's fairly stable. So that you have to temper that with that and look at things and say, okay, I need to have some of this stuff in my mix so that I know when things go soft or things shut down, like there may be an automotive line that shuts down, I have something still back there to keep my drivers busy, keep them moving so that they're not going to quit on me. And then I don't have the trucks on the road. So yeah, just really have to take a look at your lanes, do the analysis, where you're running empty miles, where you can improve that. And like I said, as I mentioned, in the U.S., that's where, again, look what's going to come up, because the United States we're going to go through a mortgage renewal crunch here coming up. In the States, they don't have that because they have 10, 20, 30-year mortgages. So they've been able to be a little more stable, and that's where you're going to maybe have an opportunity to run more south and do better. And that's where, again, look at the lane analysis. I'm not making money running Toronto-Montreal corridor, but I can start running down to the United States and make more money. So you have to be ready for that and have the assets in place to do that.
One of the points that we brought up in conversation, guys, was moving freight on company assets versus brokering loads. What's the best approach? And I realize it's a loaded question.
I'm not going to presume to tell a bunch of experts what the best approach is, but just sharing some experience. We do see a lot of trucking companies have a brokerage division. A lot of times it starts out as, hey, we've got some overflow loads, so let's find some friends who can move them for us, and we can make a little money, they can make a little money, everybody's happy. What we see sometimes as well is the brokerage divisions are very profitable, and sometimes it's propping up a less profitable trucking division, right? Because at the end of the day, all the customers come from one place. It's also an interesting way to manage capacity, move some less profitable loads from the asset-based side to the brokerage side, and then find some more profitable customers that you can move on the asset side, because ultimately those less profitable loads moving on the brokerage side are moving on someone else's truck. So as long as you can find somebody who can move that load at a price that's profitable for them, that allows you to keep some margin, everybody wins.
And just to add on that, Nick, it goes back to what we were talking a little bit earlier about lane analysis. Sometimes it actually makes sense to broker out that freight rather than run your own assets. It goes back to what we were talking a little earlier. Look at your cost. Does it make sense to actually, have a driver, pay the maintenance, the insurance, actually move those assets or park those assets? It's okay. Some of the best companies around have made that call. Maybe I'll park some of these assets. Maybe I'll sell them and I can just, broker out some of that freight.
So, guys, in your experience, where have successful companies used diversification as a strategy for customers' diversification to, grow their businesses or keep them solvent? Like, does it require acquisition of new equipment, modifications to existing equipment, training?
Yeah, asset acquisition is always a good thing. If you don't have work, go buy another company and you can take over their customers as well as their assets. But again, it just comes down to having a good mix and looking at what who all your customers are, and figure out what industry are they in. Are they all, in the automotive side? Are they in the food side? Are they in retail, wholesale? And trying to analyze that so that you're not, reliant on one particular sector for what you do. diversify. That's how you say, that's how you can keep some stability, is by being more diversified.
So one of the things that I believe came up in the discussion was the whole topic of cost control, controlling costs, things like staying on top of repairs and maintenance, supplier review, head count, leveraging new technology, et cetera. Do you guys want to jump in on any of those topics?
Sure, I can take that. So one of the discussions like we have as a bank, both with clients and potential clients across the country, is smart operators are doing just that. They're taking a step back and saying, okay, where am I making money? Where am I losing money? What can I do differently? Do I have old assets that are costing me too much money to run? Do I keep those assets? Do I invest in new assets? Staffing. Where's the overhead? Do I need to invest in some technology to maybe streamline some of my processes? Whether it's simple as billing, your EDI. What is your warehouse looking like? Do you have excess, yard space that's not being utilized? Maybe you can sublease some of that. Look at your options, and now's the time to do it. Because, going back to what Stacey started out with, right in the middle of COVID, everybody was busy. There was no time to do analysis, because all you needed to do was move freight. Now's your time to do it, because as we come out of this, we'll call it a slump, we need to be ready.
So one of the sorry, Nick, go ahead.
I just wanted to mention just a couple of other things. Like Arun mentioned, if you have a little bit of downtime, or you're experiencing margin compression and you're thinking, hey, I need to save costs. A lot of folks don't do a periodic review of all their suppliers, all the programs that you're paying. Once you find a supplier that kind of works for you, you tend to set it and forget it. So it's important to, especially now, to say, hey, is our TMS provider, is our ELD provider, is our insurance provider, is everybody giving us the best value for the money that we're spending? And it might not hurt to go out and talk to a couple of other providers to say, hey, give me a quote. What are the benefits? What can you save me? And that might help to alleviate some of that margin compression. Final 2 points I just want to mention there quickly is on cash flow. So accounts receivable, accounts payable, that cycle is the lifeblood of any business. So figuring out, are there customers that you can provide incentives to pay quicker, and then also managing your payables. If you're not overseeing how your payables are taken care of on a monthly basis, you may have given authority to make the payments to somebody on your team, and they just pay invoices the minute they come in to get it off their plate. But if your supplier gives you 30 days to pay, and you're paying in 2 days, and you need that cash, there could be a little bit of breathing room there for you. And the final point is, on CapEx spending. Like, let's say if you're saying, hey, I need to add 5 new trucks, it's possible to look at an owner-operator program. They come with the truck, and then if that capacity needs to leave your business, they take the truck and the payments that go along with that truck with them. So these are different ways of thinking about how to keep that lifeblood flowing through the business.
Yeah, Nick, I want to pick on you again. I don't know if you know, but my company, Enbridge Gas, has just acquired some other utilities in the United States, and one of the things that we expect to leverage is efficiency through core functions. Like, you don't need to buy as many licenses for your accountants. You don't need to, you can get more throughput, more output out of your existing non-revenue generating assets through merger. Do you and the rest of you guys see M&A as a way of driving efficiency to help people? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what's your view? Is it a good time to think about these things for some players?
I mean, it's definitely a good time to think about acquisitions. There's a lot of buyers that we're working with, that we see in the marketplace, who've done very well in 2022, who have a war chest built up, and they're now going out looking for still good companies who are performing well, but whose results might have fallen a little bit, valuations might have come down a little bit, so they can pick up a good book of business, a good management team, a good asset that's already cash flowing well, at a slight discounted price. So there's definitely a lot of mergers and acquisitions activity in the marketplace today. And in terms of efficiencies, whatever capability you're acquiring, you integrate that into your business. And if somebody is doing something better than you are, and you can acquire them, you also acquire their knowledge base. And
that's a good way of thinking about it. Yeah.
Transition that over. I'll pass it to the gentleman to comment.
I'll just add on that, Nick. One of the things that we're seeing a lot, from the banking standpoint is, the rationale for acquisitions. Are you looking to buy another company because you want the client base, you want their assets, you want the staffing? It's doing that deeper dive, because there are efficiencies 100% to what you mentioned, Nick, but it's also important, rather than going out and bidding on new business, which in most cases can be a race to the bottom because it's just a rate game, is there existing business that you can buy? Because, there's probably a lot of legacy there that you can capitalize on.
So one of the other things we talked about is implementing strategic new initiatives for the company. When we talked a little bit at the front, but do we want to delve into any more specific tactics that can be employed, new initiatives that one ought to be looking at? The things that come to mind are sales team, technology, focusing on adopting new services, et cetera.
Sure. Yeah, again, the green initiative is always a big thing because, going forward, we're seeing how it is important, particularly when you start to bid on freight and you go on these RFPs and you're bidding on these big contracts. They're asking for a lot of information now. It's not just how many trucks do you have and how many guys, how many drivers do you have. They want to see all the initiatives, green initiatives you do, your technology. They want to know about your ELDs. They want to know that you're ELD compliant, who the maker is, what brand. So you want to go through all that. You get your SmartWay certification. For anyone who doesn't have it, SmartWay, go on. It's a Government Canada certification. So right away that helps, something you can provide to a potential customer to show that you are doing all these initiatives. So again, it's how you prepare yourself and prepare your company, your image of how you're going to sell that to a potential new customer.
Well, it's interesting, Stacey. One of the things that I'm made aware of from working and having studied the SmartWay program and the carriers that seem to succeed in whatever sort of vertical bin that they're working in is that the most energy efficient and lowest carbon per kilogram moved freight carriers are also the most profitable. They're the most profitable, and so it's just something to think about. To your point, if you take care of that,
it is. It's important. And it's another thing that came up. I just thought I was reading some article this morning and talked a lot about fuel fraud.
Okay.
And that's where we talked about the internal reviews and how that can really affect your numbers of what come up on these, because there is a fair amount of fuel fraud that goes on that people are not aware of. So again, having all your fuel is a little easier to manage in a smaller company. When you get into a bigger company, it is a lot of fuel going out the door, and it's to be able to manage that. And there is a good potential out there for fuel fraud, which could be affecting your numbers.
I'll just add on to that, Tarek, and I think we touched on it lightly at our earlier discussion. There is money out there for funding on green initiatives. So, look into that, speak to your advisors. There is federal money under the NRCan program, and I think, based on my discussion with a lot, there's going to be additional funding coming out. So look into those options. There's money available, avail of it before it's all gone.
Well, and I might add, if you're going to the U.S., the Biden administration's right now toying with the idea of increasing the funding rate for those who use alternative fuels. In one case, I know RNG, they might make the tax credit worth $1 per gallon versus the 50 cents US dollars that it was set at, but that's neither here nor there. One of the other things we want to talk about is safety, driver training, recruitment as part of the strategic initiatives. Anything more that we can say about safety and driver training? That was covered a little bit by the first presentations. For those of you who weren't here yet, there was if there's an opportunity to look at video of the very first presentation, I forget what the gentleman's name was, but driver training and safety, how do they impact the bottom line?
Stacey, that's probably yours.
Yeah, it's yours, Stacey.
That's yours, Stacey.
It does. I mean, we've lived through it, and the video that Sergeant Kerry Schmidt showed of that tanker accident, unfortunately, involved our truck coming the other way. So these things have a great impact. And it doesn't have to be something so spectacular as a large accident, but just drivers backing into a dock can cause damage hitting someone's dock door and damaging the plate, turning a curb somewhere and damaging a railing. And that's where you need to have that ongoing training, especially now. Analyze, look at all the incidents you've had over the last few years and figure out where it is that you're having issues and be able to train the drivers because they're so critical. They make such a difference to your bottom line. And that's where safety is the number one thing, for all the general public that we're doing on the roadways. But it doesn't have to necessarily be the big spectacular accidents you're worried about. It's all the little ones too that add up. Yep. And they add up huge at the end of the day, whether it's a $500 damage or $1,000 damage or $800 damage. These things all add up, and that's where you really need to have someone who's on top